Atmosphere is something that feels like anime has a hard time trying to create in a meaningful way often. Many seasonal airing shows lately have been devoid of any meaning of the word. A great atmosphere is able to convey certain emotions and impact an experience to a degree I previously didn't even begin to understand when I first started watching anime. If you take a look at your favorites list for anime, you'll probably find most of your favorites are able to convey these meaningful atmospheres that really help boost the quality of the story and the impact. Tasogare Otome x Amnesia is a horror/comedy anime that has a unique atmosphere and feels fresh when watching. I wouldn't say the story is particularly special or that the characters are either, but the atmosphere of the show is what really keeps you watching. The darker aesthetic, with lighting mainly coming from the windows or through curtains, forms a unique atmosphere that keeps an otherwise pretty boring show quite engaging. The lighting for most of these shots comes from natural light, which helps the horror aesthetic and atmosphere. This leaves dark spaces and corners in shots, making the setting seem scarier and more unsafe than it actually is. The lighting from outside coming indoors is either a bright light that feels like it's beaming in the shot, or a mixture of orange and red providing a darker atmosphere. This results in scenes that aren't even meant to be particularly scary, a unique atmosphere and tone which I have a hard time trying to find elsewhere. This lighting is what gives the show an edge and makes it feel like it carries any sort of tension at all. The club room especially uses this natural lighting to its advantage. There are certain parts of the room where, because it's natural lighting coming from the window, it leads to areas of the room that are pitch black and it's difficult to make out what's in there. This works especially well in the beginning because they knew where Yuko's body was in the club room, but they couldn't figure out exactly where the location was. This, alongside the condition of the room being all beat up and torn like the entire school is, with the broken windows and classrooms and torn up floors, gives some nice atmosphere and helps the tension in some scenes keep up a good horror vibe needed to keep you engaged. If you look at a show like Kaguya-sama Love is War, you're able to see everything in the room. The lighting provides a clear and normal atmosphere with no added tension. This makes sense for a lighthearted comedy show where the tone isn't supposed to be heavy, but for a show like Tasogare where, when it's trying to take itself seriously, the darker and mysterious tone provided from these darker areas in the corners of the screen help add on to the weight and emotional impact of scenes. The main problem with the atmosphere and tone of the show is that they often ruin it with generic rom-com tropes such as the MC falling on the main girl and whatnot. This really kills the tone of the shot and therefore nullifies the atmosphere as well, as you're just taken completely out of the experience. The more serious dialogue in the show benefits from this lighting and unique arrangement of colors, especially in the final episode, which is the most serious and story-focused part. Its final big scene benefits from this atmosphere that's set up, making the impact quite great to the people that found themselves invested in the characters or plot. I personally wasn't very invested in the show, but I could admire the atmosphere in the scene. The show's usage of piano for the background music in many scenes helps convey the unsettling atmosphere that the school has to it, as well as the building being mostly dead for most of the day, as there aren't any students around. It makes scenes more enjoyable and engaging, turning a show from being boring and hard to watch to something that is actually able to keep your focus and make it so people like me will actually finish a show for one.
Tasogare's atmosphere has other flaws as well, oftentimes being ruined during scenes by weird off-putting dialogue and a lot of the aforementioned rom-com tropes, but for the most part, it's the show's strong suit and keeps the show above water for me. If the atmosphere isn't enough to keep you, maybe the banger opening will be.